Cool. All right, perfect. So yeah, good morning, welcome. My name is Steve, and thank you for being here today. This is our third event in Manchester. We covered demand gen last time, and before that it was B2B marketing tactics, apart from post more on LinkedIn. And the aim with this has always been to provide easy to digest tips for B2B companies to optimize and improve their marketing efforts. And that's exactly what we aim to do today and with the future events as well. Firstly, just want to say thank you to Bonded Warehouse as well. They've been great to us. Can't recommend them enough for meeting rooms, co-working, hot desking and whatnot. And no, I'm not paid to say that. In fact, I actually pay them now to be here as a member. So if anything, there we go. I should probably figure out some sort of negotiation on that. But yeah, things are coming along nicely with Bite Size B2B Marketing. All the past events are now up on YouTube. We've got chapters. So you can skip through and find the questions that kind of most relate to you. They'll usually go up on a week after the event once we've got the video from Ash, so it depends how speedy he is with getting it done for us. Your boy's on TikTok now, which pains me to say out loud, so if you see me doing any dances after the event in the corner, that's what it's for. But yeah, jokes aside, the clips from the event will be going up there as well as putting them on YouTube Shorts as well. And then we have the newsletter as well. So focused on the pre-event kind of overview of what we're going to be covering and then the post-event summary as well. Anyway, so enough about me. So why did we pick this topic? Video, it seems easy, doesn't it? Like we all think we can give it a good go, but it's bloody hard to get right. Anything from the script to just the creative process, to the actual filming, from the sound to the lighting, everything that goes into it. It's a skill, and that's not even including the strategy and actually using it to drive results for a business. So that's why we're here today, and Ash is going to be sharing his knowledge. So to kick us off, just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your company and what you do.
Sure, yeah. So the name's sort of split into two, like that video strategy company, nice, imaginative, does what it says on the tin. The first side, I guess, is what everyone knows is the video side of it, which is going in, videography, capturing what businesses do, creating stuff around that. The other side is the strategy element, which is sort of what happens before and afterwards, where we sit down with people, actually work out what's going to actually help them move the needle of the business. And the back end of it is working out, helping them sort of distribute that and put it into action, I suppose. Yeah.
Cool. And that kind of breaks down nicely in terms of like, can you just walk us through the steps in developing an effective B2B strategy and kind of those key components? So you mentioned the distribution, you mentioned the actual kind of planning of it and things like that. Like what are those key steps?
Yeah, so I guess if you're in that marketing manager seat in the company, if you're the business owner, CEO, whatever you want to call it, if you're bringing that person in, I guess it starts off from your side, you have to know how to vet them properly, which is a big thing where I see people fall over straight away. It's quite easy in the video world to be sold on a reel and like, well, this looks really great, this looks really polished, this looks really nice. And a lot of times people forget to dig into what was the returns on this, what was the goals for it. So being confident to dig into someone and find out those results, like how did this project impact the business at the end of it, I think is really important. And then it's actually trusting that person enough to be honest with them and talking about what you want from the project. A lot of times, like I'll get like a WhatsApp message or a voicemail or a phone call being like, we want a promo video for this, and that's where 90% of the conversations start. Yeah, and then you jump on and have a chat with them, and all of a sudden all these extra things come out. And it's like this, and it's like, so getting those conversations out, and from that, it's just then pairing it up with a plan to, well, you've got this problem, this is happening. Yeah. Looking through the big one is the sales process. I think a lot of people, when they look at video, they sort of want to build something new from ground zero. Yeah. But a lot of businesses, if they're starting out doing it, I think they should look at the easy percentages. You know, where can we improve? Where can we optimize? If you're already getting to the stage where you're thinking of using video, the odds are things are going fairly well. It is sort of seen as I wouldn't say maybe it's changing slightly. It's not probably number one on the list of marketing things that people get. To get a website first or these sort of bits. It tends to be further down. So if you're at that point, the odds are you're already getting leads in from some places. How can we optimize that? And then look at building new channels. And that's sort of my process too, anyway. Yeah,
and what tends to be that first video that, I suppose that you would suggest that people should go for, or that, say, every website should have, or, you know, does there tend to be one? Like, is it explainer video, or should you focus on testimonials?
Yeah, so I have like a chunk, like a core group that I sort of, I guess, fall back on. That sounds a bit bad saying that, but I think they work really well for a variety of companies. So I predominantly work with service-based businesses as well. So I don't do a lot with products. This is obviously different if you're talking about products, I would say. But for me, yeah, brand videos, I call them video business cards. I think they're really good. Basically something to hand out to people that, you know, if you imagine when someone's inquiring, they're probably not just inquiring with you, they might be inquiring with the guy down the road and the other company that they found online and somebody else they've been recommended by the mate. They're probably sending out a few things. So what have we got in place when they're talking to these people that makes us look different and makes us stand out? So that's where that sits. You mentioned it there, testimonials, absolutely solid. A lot of people will come and want those done just as a sort of, as an individual thing. I always recommend getting 3 done for testimonials, not just because I want a bigger invoice at the end of it, but it is because it looks nice on a website, you know, a 3 side by side. And also a little thing I say to clients is, you know, 1 is luck, 2 is coincidence, 3 is proof. Yeah. And it also allows you to spread the problems you solve and spread your demographics across 3 videos, because the odds are people are coming to you for more than one reason. So having 3 testimonials to back that up.
And with the testimonials as well, then, like, how would you go about creating those? Because, like, obviously most people have the written testimony, or they'll have the written case studies on their site. So is the video that you'll produce different to the case study, or is it how does it, is it more similar to like a quick review, or is it more of a longer case study, like problem, solution, results?
Yeah, so it varies. So I sort of try and split case study and testimonials off a little bit. I'd say a case study is more like where you're probably looking at the company who's provided the service. So if you take construction, if you're doing like a case study for a construction company, you're probably going to speak to the construction company, find out the logistics of the project, how it all came together, timescales, but you're also going to speak to the end client, find out how they felt it went. So you're going to get sort of both sides of it in a case study. Testimonial is more customer-focused story. How did your business impact their life, or whatever that looks like. So they are slightly different. Yeah. But yeah, we have like a flow for testimonials we take people through. It's designed to get the best out of them and get lots of good results. Then we can take that and strip it into small clips and things like that and get smaller social bits, LinkedIn stuff and all that good stuff.
Cool, perfect. And in terms of the concept and the format selection, how do you decide on the right video format or concept, and how do you make sure that aligns with the customer? Are you speaking to what kind of research goes into it before, or is that usually comes from the client and then they'll have that for you? Yeah,
so a lot of it happens in that initial stage where you're chatting and finding out the problems and all that sort of stuff, and what's most pressing, how does your sales process work. The 2 big things I'd like to say we look at the start is what's already working well for you that we can improve, and then what new things can we build in. So usually we're starting with that first layer. So then just pairing up. So, you know, I've got like a catalogue, for lack of a better term, of videos that we sort of produce and put out there for people. So comparing the problems to the videos, what sort of image does the business want to put out there is quite big as well. What they want at the end of it. So a big discussion we'll have is like, should we go scripted or do we go interview style? There's pros and cons to both, little bits like this. Do we bring in actors? Is the person comfortable enough to do it themselves? I've had more than one video killed by a marketing manager who was like, no, we're absolutely fine. We can talk on video. And then you put this fun script together and it reads really well. And then, the person can't quite deliver it. And so it does happen like that. So it's just weighing up problems, what you've got, resources, and then mixing and matching. Yeah.
And then in terms of, you touched on it a little bit there with in-house, like in-house versus outsourcing, it's kind of a hot topic, I suppose. It's often a big decision that companies need to make when they are doing, looking into video. So when should B2B companies produce videos in-house, or when should they look to outsource?
I mean,
without being biased with your answer.
Yeah, no. I think most companies should be doing some form of in-house video in the day-to-day, behind the scenes, that sort of stuff. Definitely, there's. Yeah. And I've got an alert set up on LinkedIn for like job applications and stuff for like videographers and video positions, because it's not always for full time. Sometimes it's like we're looking for something 1 day a month and stuff like that. But the massive increase in companies looking for in-house videographers is huge, right? Yeah. And it's because of the rise of things like TikTok and Instagram Reels. So there's definitely a huge portion that you can do in-house, and there's a whole style of content you can develop in-house. But for the more polished bits, the longer term stuff, outsourcing, I think there can sometimes be a bit of a power dynamic inside a company. If you're the boss speaking down to your video person, it's going to be a bit like, no, we need to do this. So having an opinion that you trust and is going to call you out when you've got terrible ideas, maybe it can be a good thing. And there's also a time factor. If you're a bigger company, you might have all the stuff going on to fill that in-house video person's to-do list, if you like. But when you speak to smaller companies who've done it, sometimes the hurdle they get to is a little bit of complacency and also not having a big enough list of things to do and constantly feeling like they've got to be on that hamster wheel of, we've got a video person, we need to be using them, we need to be creating ideas, and it's almost like this constant burden, slightly might be the wrong word. But yeah, having that necessity, if you've got a video person, to be making stuff versus doing it once a month, once a quarter, something along those lines.
Yeah, cool. And taking a step back a little bit there, kind of we touched on it briefly a little bit, there are so many types of video content, from explainer videos, case studies, the video business cards that you mentioned as well, and then the more top of funnel content for reach and kind of the, gaining impressions and stuff. So can you talk us through some of those various types, and then we can kind of pick off and kind of dive into some of them as well a little bit more?
All right. So
which one would you prefer to talk about, I suppose?
Yeah. Review back at that question once more. Let's
So like in terms of like being many types of video content, so where you were saying there, like you've got the business overview or explainer videos, you've got those case studies and testimonials, or you've got the more kind of top of funnel social content for reach, like more short form, I suppose. Can you talk us through some of those various types, or is there kind of one specifically that you'd like, want to talk about?
I get you. So I really like doing, I guess, sales and onboarding content is what I really like working on. So I guess from first point of contact downwards. But there's different things that work really well across a funnel. So again, come back to that catalogue of things we sort of know what fits where in that funnel. And for a lot of people, again, ties back to starting not necessarily in the awareness stage, because that can be, social's become its own whole ecosystem now. You can have your whole sales funnel, if you like, for lack of a better term, can be done through social. Yeah. So it's sort of changed a lot in the last few years that it's not just an awareness tool. People are doing their full research through socials now. So that is tweaked a bit. But yeah, sort of, I guess, prioritizing from the problems someone's got and what videos fit there, and then slotting them through the different levels of the funnel. I like starting with longevity. I think that works well. If you're dipping your toe into video, what stuff have we got that isn't going to last 2 weeks, but it's going to last us 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, in case you don't like it or you don't want to get on board with it, or it's not something you want to be spending a couple grand a month on every month doing video or something like that. Starting with something that's going to keep giving returns further down in the sales funnel might work better, and that ties into that optimization at the start of it. Odds are you've got other lead channels. Where do those leads converge, optimize from there, and then come down.
Cool, perfect. And then diving into short form and social a little bit more, with that, is that something where it needs to be thought about right from the start, and it's like, look, this is the strategy, we're going to be posting social content, and then think of it from that point of view, and from the shoot all the way through, it needs to be focused on that? Because I remember you had the LinkedIn post a little while ago where it was like, saying like most camera equipment is made to shoot landscape versus portrait, but it's like a lot of the stuff now is portrait. So like, is that a kind of key consideration from the start, or can you shoot in a way that can kind of work on both elements? Yeah,
so you can definitely shoot in ways that works across both, and now it is sort of almost a prerequisite that you are shooting for both at the same time. You want to do vertical and 16:9s. So without getting really deep into the boring kit stuff, there is stuff that is, there is like cameras that are designed to work with that. So there's now new sensors coming out that are literally designed to help with that. So you've got the more headroom on the sensor and the width as well. So there's developments being made that high up in the industry where they're taking social video that seriously. They're developing cameras that are designed to do both. But yeah, all of our stuff we shoot tends to be shot with socials in mind from the start as well, especially now.
Yeah. And then in terms of the approach to the distribution of the videos, I know you, again, LinkedIn post that you posted recently about like how, nice video will then get pushed out more and stuff like that. Yeah. But where, again, is that like a similar consideration from the start where you need to be thinking where it's going to be distributed to, and you're deciding on the platforms for that as well?
Definitely. So that comes into, again, the second half of the really long company name, right? That strategy part is like, that should be done from the very start. You should know what's being made, where it's going to go, how you're going to use it from before you've picked up a camera to start filming. You shouldn't really be deciding that on the end. I guess the outline of helping people get it up and working definitely happens at the end, but you should know before that's happened where things are slotting in. Yeah. So for our bigger projects, we'll pull together like a big diagram, which is like, this is your sales process, this is how it works currently, and this is where these videos are going to slot, and this is how you're going to use them. And then the extra to that is it also gets shared on socials and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then if they want to, we can also help craft campaigns around it. So if you're launching this nice, polished new brand video, what can we do in the month leading up to that, which is like, is it teasing it? Is it showing behind the scenes stuff? Is it, then it's, here we go. The worst thing I see, and if you ever get a video film, please don't do this, is where the video goes up and it's like, here's our new promo video, please watch it. It's like, nobody has ever been enticed to watch a video by that bit of copy leading into the video.
Yeah.
So take a bit of time when you copy, and it is a part of it, especially if you're looking at LinkedIn. It's different obviously in TikTok or Reels where people are scrolling through, but on LinkedIn, like, the copy is such an important part of the video. Like, people read that and see that before that's popping up. So just make sure you're putting time and effort and a bit of TLC into that side of it as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned there the little faux pas of not focusing on the copy, just chucking the video up and just being like, hey, watch this kind of thing. Is there any other challenges that B2B companies are facing when implementing a strategy and not just putting the video out?
Interesting. Not so how I try and work is we don't want to go in and rip up the rule book and be like, you have to start doing this. I think that's sometimes when issues can happen if they've had a certain process for years and it's like, well, we've always done things this way and you're trying to fight against it. So my big thing is trying to slot into what they're already doing.
Yeah.
We don't want to create more headaches. If we think we can tweak something and change something, make it work a little bit better, like Loom videos are a great example of that, right? And your sales process using Loom videos can help out massively. You don't need us for that, you can do that yourself.
Yeah.
But it's something I'll include in that strategy doc of, once you send off your proposal, if you attach a Loom document to it, or if you're sending a contract off, send a Loom video and like explain, this is the bit you need to sign, this is your important bit, this is so you help speed things up. So there's all these little bits, but yeah, so most of the time they're already pretty well on board with it, right?
Yeah.
So there's not huge amounts of issues. And again, one of the things we like to do with clients is afterwards is sit down and sort of handhold them if they need it, of what we'd recommend they do, and even jump on a couple meetings and show them even simple stuff like things you can sometimes take for granted, like uploading things properly, using YouTube or Vimeo, thumbnail creation, all these little bits that sometimes you take for granted and think, oh, everyone knows how to do that. Lots of people still don't.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do on that back end.
Yeah.
The idea is no video should be left on like a download link, sort of gathering dust or being stuck on Facebook once. It should be used a bit more than that is the sort of plan. Yeah. Yeah,
that makes sense. And with that as well then, you mentioned there, well, I suppose, helping B2B companies, you say, look, you can do the Loom video. Is there anything else as well that you try to get them to do and kind of to work on? So for example, if it's like, if they're regularly looking to post, say, more podcast-based clips or talking head kind of shots, is there any kind of initial help and setup that you do with that as well? And kind of what does that look like in terms of helping them? Is it kind of recommending like at your office, have a space set up where it's just the camera's already there, the seats are set up nicely and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we have done that with clients, and we have a couple of clients we work with on like a quarterly basis. And with those clients, we'll try and be like, look, if you can provide us more content from your side, it's just going to make our job easier. That daily, day in the life, behind the scenes, any bits you want to do. Or if somebody wants, it isn't necessarily a service that we offer, but we can help people set up, like I say, a space if they then want scripts sending over or a bit more of a hands-off approach for them to have the content, film it and send it off to edits and things like that. So yeah, that can definitely be done. Obviously, not loads of companies, I would say, just have like spare offices knocking around just to be like, oh yeah, just go set up in here. Like, yeah, this is our spare room. So yeah, but we can help out with that. And I'm always trying to get people to just to shoot more in the day-to-day. Even if it's not perfect, like we can steer into that. Like using unpolished video and polished videos can look great, in the right, used well. So just document. That's what it boils down to, document.
And does it need someone internally at the company then to be the champion of that, to be like, I am like the video person as such, in terms of like documenting that content rather than just saying like, hey guys, take more photos and film more stuff kind of thing?
So I would advise that, yeah, because we've had it before where we've even sent out, like worked with a fire safety company, we put together like best filming practices. I don't think it got read by I think it got read by one person. Yeah. The idea was then they could obviously record bits they were doing on their day to day and like show installs and bits going on, send it afterwards and we could use it. And yeah, I mean, we got videos back, so that was a bonus. But yeah, I'm not sure if that document ever got read.
Yeah.
But so having someone who is maybe, I mean, but you want someone who wants to do it is the thing. You can only twist someone's arm so much, and if you're making somebody who really doesn't want to take photos and really doesn't want to take videos, trying to do it, you're going to get shit stuff back. That's the honest answer. So if you have got someone in the team who is happy to do it and does want to do it, is it that marketing manager person, or whoever that is, if you can delegate it to someone who's got that freedom and knowledge to go through and do bits, that would be, I think, it's the happy medium. Obviously, it's always changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has been some. Don't try and push it uphill too much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's fair enough. And I suppose you can always incentivize people as well in terms of like, especially if it is quite a project-based company, in terms of like if you were saying like construction or something like that, like on-site photos, like whoever's got the best photo, and kind of try and, or video or whatever, try and get people to get involved in it as well.
Yeah, everyone loves an Amazon voucher if you're going to incentivize people to do stuff. Do you know what I mean? If you've got someone on a site or anything like that, 100%.
Yeah, so it sounded from what you had said before that you're pro script, with that, like what are the key elements you should focus on when developing a script or a storyboard, I suppose, to keep the video engaging and effective?
So I'm actually quite anti-script.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. Sorry to feel that. No. Reason is, for most times I'm filming with people, I'm not filming with an actor. I'm filming with someone who runs a business in the day-to-day, is maybe a marketing manager. They're not used to being on camera. And you find if you stick a script in front of that person and go, read this script, it takes a lot longer than sitting down and having a chat like we're doing now and just going, tell me about this and talk to me about this. And people ease into it, they forget the camera's there and they become nice and natural. But when we do scripts, again, it's all about weighing up time versus messaging is a big one. Trying to put humor into it is massive. The classic formula is like bit of humor, bit of information, bit of humor, bit of information, and try and keep that bouncing back and two. And then the thing I think a lot of people don't do, the one thing you can do with video that you can't do with any other format of media, as far as I'm aware, is you can show something and use the audio to talk about something else.
Okay,
you do two things at once. You can't do that with anything else, and make the most of that, which I think we kind of lost a bit with the talking head style and just delivered to camera and nothing else going on. But yeah, you've got the power to do two things at once, so make the most of that. And you can, with a script, you can really get that dialed in. You can really make that stand out.
Yeah.
Downside to scripting is you're not going to get as much content at the back end of it. So if we sit down and do a 30-minute interview of you about your web design company, we're going to cut that down to a 90-second, 2-minute video. There's a hell of a lot that's left on the cutting room floor. Yeah. And we can then repurpose that into shorts, LinkedIn content, all that sort of stuff. Don't necessarily get that with a script because you're filming the script. Yeah.
Do you find that a lot then, that you'll get brought into film a day or half a day of content and then you just pass that sort of raw content over to them for them to then chop up and use themselves and kind of go through it like that?
So it's getting more common, that, definitely. I'd say a couple of years ago that wasn't the case at all. Everyone would want the full service done, if you like. Now you see more people with either in-house editors or editors that they trust to send bits out to. People are taking the content creation departments more seriously, so they've got more resources in-house. So that's becoming more popular, so definitely can do that. And for some stuff, quite happy when it's like, here's your footage, you haven't got to sit through 3 hours worth of talking today, that's quite, what I mean? It's very much client dependent. With agencies, it's more popular actually, where they've probably got same thing, got their own in-house editors, or they've maybe using multiple different video companies to work with the same client. They want stuff to all look the same and cohesive throughout the postings, whatever it is. So it's a lot more common with agencies, I'd say, now as well.
Yeah, and in terms of that then, with people not specifically just editing and kind of taking your footage and working with that, but it could be any part of the process. Like, are there any exciting tools or software or anything new, and you can drop the AI buzzword in there if you want when you answer this, but to kind of help speed up any step of the process or help with parts of the process, even like the scripting, for example?
Yeah.
Or not scripting in your case.
Yeah. Well, I guess recording everything now and throwing it into AI is massive. So we'll do that with all our sales calls, like deep dive calls where we go through and talk about all the problems and all this sort of stuff. So we'll record all that so we can easily go back and reference stuff and pull together like key messages and little bits. It's easier to digest documents, because I'm not sure about you, but if I sit down writing notes in a notebook when I'm trying to have an interview with someone about what's going on, if I'm writing down something in my notebook, I've missed the thing they've said, and then I'm like, I either leave with no notes or I've missed half the meeting.
Yeah.
So like being able to use like AI in that side of it is great. AI editors, there's some really good ones to be fair, in terms of, I find the audio a certain thing really well,
Yeah.
but the bulk of the editing is actually a bit naff. Where I found it to be really helpful is in the back end of organising interviews. Like we did a shoot recently, like 5 separate interviews across a day, it took like 30 to 40 minutes an interview. Going back and listening to that is a nightmare. Being able to transcribe it, throw into AI, give me the key talking points, what they're talking about when, and then using that to bring back into a traditional editor. But if anyone's doing stuff for themselves, Descript is great.
Yeah.
It's text-based as well, which is really nice. So you haven't got to worry about listening to stuff and cutting. You just edit the text and edits the video. Really handy. And then Opus AI popped up a couple of weeks ago with Kyle as well.
Yeah.
Really handy bit of kit if you've got, again, long interview that you're looking to repurpose. Really, really good.
Nice, cool. So that was Descript and then Opus as well. Opus
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. And then in terms of the key metrics that companies should track when measuring the success of the videos, what do you suggest that people should focus on, and does it vary for something that's going out on, say, LinkedIn versus that's something that's on your website, on your sales page, for example?
Yeah. I'm laughing about this because last night I was trying to remember the words. It's quantitative and qualitative. I'm not sure if I got those right, but a lot of the video I'm going to say is in the branding sphere. So you've got the one that isn't tied to figures quite so much, whichever one that is. Can be massive. A lot of times I speak to clients afterwards, and a lot of things they talk about are things like how the conversations have changed, how they feel things are moving faster. And if you've not tracked those things, it's really hard to go back and be like, we've sped up our onboarding by 20%, or it can be hard to track that. So we hear a lot of positives on that side. And then with the ROI discussion, it ties, obviously it varies depending on the project. I mean, if you're running something like an ad campaign, and you've run ad campaigns before, it's really easy to see if there's an increase.
Difference in the creative,
So certain things it is easy to see. There are, obviously you've got your typical metrics, views, like shares, that sort of stuff. You can set up links, which can be really good. So working with a dentist at the moment, and what we're putting together is like a link tree that they've never used before. So we can see everything we're generating, hopefully sending people to the link tree, and we can see how many people have clicked on stuff. So having those things in place, discount codes can be really good, obviously for YouTube specific things that are tied to that. You can see how many people have used it. So there are definitely ways you can track that ROI.
Yeah.
But a lot of time the video is being used as part of a bigger sphere. It's very rarely used in isolation. Like if you're bringing us in to do your LinkedIn videos, the odds are you're posting on LinkedIn already.
Yeah.
So it can be difficult to track, but there are ways, depending on the campaigns and stuff, to dial that in.
Yeah, yeah, and even that as well. Like you had a post on LinkedIn as well before about how this company was just getting the same questions over and over again, and then it was put into a video, and then they stopped getting those questions because the video was answering that basically. So it's like that's kind of a good place to start if you are getting a lot of repeat questions. Obviously, FAQ could probably help with that as well, but like with if it's like especially around the process, or if it was, I can't remember the company that it was, but they had like a new way of doing something that some people might not understand as such. So that was kind of good to go in that video.
Yeah, if you ever want to work out which videos to make, speak to your customer service team or sales team or whatever it is, and just be like, what conversations are you having 8 times a week? And they will tell you, probably quite annoyed, which video you should be making. So yes, having those simple things in place, again, it comes to that optimization stage, right? It's not necessarily the big flashy stuff which is going to get shared loads of times on social media, but it's going to be saving you hours and hours every single week potentially. Yeah. So those are the cool things to look at that are just big time savers.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the trends or changes that you see occurring in video over the next year or so, what do you foresee those to be?
I mean, you've talked about it before, the in-house, it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where videos are going to be seen as just as important as having your marketing person or something like that.
Yeah.
It just seems to be increasing. With the bigger companies, it's going to be in-house, the rise of like TikTok agencies, like doing it with Matt, having people who are going to come in either regularly to capture that behind the scenes stuff, or that daily element, or having it in-house. I think it's going to be massive. I think agencies are going to move to that more higher level, more polished stuff, and do a lot less. Because it's hard to do the day-to-day stuff, it really is. Unless you're planning ahead and being like, we have this on, this on, this on, it can be expensive, it can be difficult. So having someone in-house to do that, with how a video is blown up, I think is going to be the next thing. And I think it's definitely, well, it's not even the next thing, I guess the now thing, really.
Yeah.
I'm probably tied to that is having faces to the company that aren't necessarily just the the owners. I think companies are going to be looking at having like presenters more than just having people from the department.
Yeah.
Having people who can make them sound good, make them look good, who know the company, whether that's done from an internal hiring, like promotion thing, or not say promotion, I guess, but tagging it onto somebody's job role.
You see it sometimes with, especially at some software or SaaS companies, you quite often see the CMO is like, as well as the CEO or founder, CMO tends to be quite the spokesperson or kind of the front facing. Like you just look at, say, Organised, you look at Ahrefs, you look at some tools used in our industry, like that CMO is quite like the face of it. And almost sometimes, it wasn't even until a few weeks ago that I realized that the CMO at Ahrefs, like Tim Solo, he is not the founder. I thought he just owned the company for ages. And then last week he was like, oh no, he's just a CMO. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, so it's just, you get that front facing person, don't you? You kind of can lean into it. Yeah,
just because you've made a good business doesn't mean you're not a piece of toast when the camera gets turned on, right? So having that person who can be a bit of a personality and engage with people, has a bit of a laugh to go back and through and build that is going to be massive. I think for companies who are trying to do stuff on a more regular basis, having that person is going to be very helpful.
And it's just practice as well, isn't it? Like as you're saying, like, you know, you get put in front of the camera and then it's so alien. It's just like even when you write your first LinkedIn post, it's so alien. You hit send, you're like, oh my God. But it's the same with the setup and the camera and kind of getting in front of it as well. It just does get easier as you kind of go on.
Yeah, it's a skill or muscle where you know, like anything. And like we see with clients we work on a regular basis, it sort of just goes like, woo. And all of a sudden you're able to produce more videos in a day, they look better, they perform better, and they start feeling better about it because, oh, well, I'm getting a lot more nice comments, and it just feeds into itself. I'd say when people are unconfident and they're like, oh, I don't think I should post it because I sound like this or I look like this, go and find your favorite YouTuber, whoever that is. Go look at the very first video they posted and go look at the most recent one. And I guarantee they will be absolutely worlds apart. Yeah. You know, and they didn't do that in the space of 2 filming sessions. It's probably been years. Yeah. So just, you know, it is a skill talking to camera. It's really tough. Yeah, you even see it with TV shows as well, don't you? The first kind of like series of something all the way to the final series. It's just the progression is obviously, and sometimes it'll be down to the kit and the way stuff's shot and technology, but a lot of the time it does develop and grow and things get better, don't they? So, very broad question in terms of like essential pieces of kit, or if companies are looking to start with video, is there anything that you would say, like even to begin with, just make sure you've got like the latest iPhone or Android, like, you know, Samsung, and just shoot with a good mic, or what do you feel like are the most important bits to get right? I think microphone is the most important bit, and most phone cameras can take decent quality video now, but your microphone, like there's nothing worse than, you know, you watch a video and it sounds like someone talking to you from the other side of the baked bean. This is good then after this. Yeah. But if they're plugged in anyway, yeah, it sounds like someone's talking to you from the other side of a baked bean can or something. It's like, what are you? So yeah, that's sort of the analogy, I'm not sure it was an analogy, but the example I always say is, people will sit there and watch a found footage film where the video footage is a bit rubbish. Yeah. But if you watch any of those films, the audio is still bang on. Yeah. But you do flip it the other way around. If you were watching like a really good film, but the audio was terrible, you would not watch it. You'd be like, what is going on? So yeah, audio is just so important. And it makes a massive difference. Any mics as well? I think like the Rode mics you said before. Yeah, those ones, I mean, they're all like more, I guess, entry-level ones. Yeah. And I've just not tried them to recommend them. So I couldn't say anything of those in particular, but Rode do great ones, Deity do really strong ones, DJI, they've got a set of mics which are really good. And then there's like, maybe not so good now because it's not wireless, but even Rode do like a little plug-in lav mic, which can just plug straight into the bottom. It's just one of these cables that runs in and you just plug it into the bottom of your phone. So there's different ways to do about it. Yeah. But yeah, I reckon it's more important than how it looks. Thoughts on holding a mic like that in the video? No comment. Perfect. Final question from me, because I know we've got a few different businesses here, so I want to kind of get questions from them, because I feel like they'll be a lot more useful from that point of view. But if there's any, for any businesses just starting out with video, or say looking to kind of revamp their strategy, what advice would you give them to ensure that they're doing that effectively? Yeah, I guess reiterate some of the stuff I said at the start, like vet the person properly. The question I say to people, if they're ever like chatting to other video companies, videographers, you want to call them, I'll say just ask them how their last project impacted the client. And you'll find that one question will just catch out the people who want to film a nice video and then disappear, versus the people who've actually been involved in that process of what we're developing, what are we creating, and what's happening on the back end. And like there is 100% a space for creatives just to create nice looking stuff.
Yeah.
Massively so. But if you're a business doing video, you're not doing it for that reason. You're probably doing it because, you know, I tie it back to clarity, trust, and attention. You probably want one of those three. So that's probably where your problems are rooted. So if you're getting videos done, you're trying to work on them. So just find out what problems people have solved with their video content, whatever you want to call it, for their clients. Think top down, think long term when you're starting. What's going to not have a shelf life for 2 weeks? What's going to last me 6 months, 12 months? And yeah, I think those are a couple of big things.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. This is when we'll have no questions from anyone now, and then I'll be back to asking mine.
Early finish.
Yeah. Callum, you want to go first?
I've got one. I'm going to be that guy about AI. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm more curious about you and your niche in the marketing sector. So like videography side of it. Do you think videography agencies or marketing agencies that offer videography need to embrace AI as a new offering alongside working with someone instead of just using it as a tool in-house? So actually bring a new service offering AI.
Do you mean in terms of like editors or in terms of like AI avatars and stuff like that?
Imagine like a low ticket offer, so it's like you can work with me as a person now as a luxury, and or I can shoot it, we can reduce the price, but instead I'm going to use AI with it kind of thing. Like I think they actually need to be transparent to use it as a service offering with people, and then make the person now a more ticket offer, high ticket offer.
Oh, interesting question. I guess, yeah, if it's weighing up the time aspect, I guess, when it boils down to a company, right? If what would your price point be of that AI offer going in, and would it dilute the client base you're getting and make you look like something you don't want to do versus the work you're producing? If you were going to hire someone who's like, even go above me, like a big video production company, and you go on their website, I know because they didn't necessarily have it together, but if you see them producing some amazing work and then some really weird AI basic stuff, would you be a bit like, I guess it's knowing your market. If you're in that market of like direct to business owners, maybe it's worthwhile doing it. For me, I'm not doing it at the moment just because I think on the editing side, it's your lowest cost to reward thing, I think, when it comes to editing. If you're in the video business, your client doesn't see it. They don't see you sitting there going, do I need this little bit or not? Or add this little thing there, or add this little sound. They don't see that. So you don't get any, you know, positive reactions for it. It takes a long time. So I'm not at the moment. We're obviously using AI tools, but not like a specific AI editing service. I think that's a bit of a race to the bottom service, I would see it as personally. But
Certainly because I just saw someone doing it, but it's like they're going to train it to become like AI experts, so then if you need to reduce them for someone,
it definitely could be worthwhile.
I think it's the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I sort of tie that along. I have similar thoughts, something like that, as I do with podcasts. I've been asked a few times, why don't you advertise podcasts? And it's like, you can go hire a podcast studio for like 300 quid a day, and they'll edit it, turn it around, polish it up, add subtitles, pass it on. Like, I don't say race to the bottom because they're producing good stuff, but it's like it's a really tight, congested market. I can see it sort of going a similar way. So I will be using AI to improve stuff, but I don't think it'll be a standalone service, if you like. Yeah. Ask me next year and I might change my mind.
Yeah.
When I've lost my job to ChatGPT, but we'll see how that goes.
I love AI.
Yeah. We'll have a chatbot here next year.
Yeah. Don't even need you. Yeah. Just have that guy talking on there. So, any other questions? Yeah, Roman.
What were your plans when adapting your agency? So any changes that to do with building in-house teams? You know, are you thinking of like a service that has to do with helping companies build their in-house teams? Or what do you think about that?
Interesting, yeah. So I haven't actually thought about doing that. We definitely have helped. I use train in a loose term. In-house people, like I said, how to do things, more like what we want from them if they're going to produce an in-house stuff. But it would be interesting, and we have got people who actually do say we've got this person in doing this and how can we work together. So we'll try and make it as harmonious as possible. But I haven't necessarily done trainings as such in that regard. But it could be something that, again, that develops as it becomes much more of a popular thing and people are looking at bringing in-house video people to sort of make sure everything is aligned. And it comes like, never want to go into a company and rip things up and go, this is rubbish. And you don't want to do that. You want to work with people, and if they're producing stuff, creating stuff, how can it all work together? But yeah, I guess it definitely would be something worth looking at. My big thing personally this year is niching down more again. I've sort of last year work with so many different sectors and everything, I think it's going to be a little bit diluted for me personally. So I think next year is trying to like get it back on a bit more of an arrow point than a.
Because also maybe hiring is a big issue for a lot of B2B companies.
Yeah.
And not just in content departments, but across all departments. Like we work with COOs and CEOs quite a lot, so we build their operations departments, and it becomes more and more an issue for companies to find the right people and attract the right people to the business. So eventually that's the play.
Maybe, yeah. And I've actually heard some horror stories of like people who've brought people in house. Not that I'm trying. It sounds like I'm trying to
push outsourcing.
Yeah.
Hey? Yeah. So we see your agenda, mate.
like we
But
actually.
it's a creative role, isn't it? And it's hard to, like, so for example, like on copywriting, you can be like, you could, again, all changes now a bit with AI, but you could get them to write you something on a specific thing or something, like to try and get them to kind of show something. Whereas with a video, you can't really just be like, I suppose you could more short form stuff, but like, it's hard to validate if someone else, you could have produced a video and I could be like, oh yeah, I did this video. And like, they wouldn't be able to really check it.
Yeah, you just have to find someone who really wants to do it, and that can be tough. And like complacency can build in, and people can get sick of it. Or maybe they don't like the company. If you don't like the company and who you're working for or what they're making, that passion goes. Then the videos they're making are going to be rubbish. And it's just, I've heard it go down well. I've heard it also be a nightmare. Like we've recently replaced an in-house video person because the guy was like, they've not. It's been there for like a year and they've done like 2 videos or 3 videos. so like it can go wrong. I don't know if I have a right answer for it.
Yeah.
I mean, is it that different to any other position?
True.
Really? Do you know what I mean? If you're going to get people in who are good at the job, bad at the job, they might look good on a CV or do well in an interview, you get them in and then they're rubbish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I think that's sort of across the board. But even when I'm hiring freelancers, the amount of rubbish people you have to go through to find people you want to work with. The website looks good, the portfolio looks good, the chats are good. Main thing, they're available on the day, which is always a big one. But then you work with them and you're like, how have you got to this point? Like we had one guy who couldn't set up a light stand. I'm like, you've got a portfolio here of like all his work. And you're like, how do I set this light stand up? I was like, what? So yeah, it's not just the hiring people, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah. No. I looked at both of you and I was just like.
So we touched on KPIs and metrics, etc. From your experience, do you see that? Asking about efficacy and effectiveness of videos, do you see more a reduction in cost per lead or a reduction in time to sign up the client, meaning that maybe there's more trust built through the videos and stuff?
Yeah, so a big thing I would say for a lot of our projects that we definitely see is an increase. So I guess a closing increase percentage, or how you ought to sort of phrase that. That's a real big thing we see because it like ties into what I said. A lot of people are messaging multiple people. So having stuff that really makes you stand out from those. I posted the other day, I was like, you're not competing with Nike, you're not competing with LinkedIn influencers.
Yeah.
Your competition isn't that. It's the dude that's like 2 streets away doing the same thing as you. And if you're putting in that 20%, 30% bit of effort to produce stuff that looks good and makes you really stand out, and doesn't just talk about what you do, but talks about how you do it, why you do it, all of a sudden you're up here. And despite all these companies that are doing stuff, the bar for creativity is still really low once you step out of the creative field, especially. If you step into, construction, I work a lot with like heating and plumbing at the moment, nothing's going on in that sphere. It's like, if you're the company that's doing stuff, you just look so much better. So yeah, those sort of videos we do just seem to do really well on that front end. And then obviously on the other thing you mentioned was like ad return and stuff like that. And was that right? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's, again, I quite like working on that sort of stuff because it's very ones and zeros, right?
Matter of fact,
Yeah.
It's like this ad did this, this ad did this.
Yeah,
Right?
so that's also nice to work on. It's nice having the both sides of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully if you've done a good job, you see the increase, if you like, or decrease, depending on what you're measuring.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, it's like with B2B companies, you quite often see that they might have the stereotypical company video from 5 years ago, which is like the text coming
Animated
over,
logo at the
and then the voice
start.
like, and we do this and this, and it's just like, it's, if you could just go a bit better than that, then that's one, you know, like I remember when we had Joe on the panel before, he said he'll work with a lot of companies like that, and it's like they've discovered fire. They're like, wow, like this is like amazing, like this is like, what is this like? And it's just a nicely done video, you know, versus the other stuff that's out there.
Yeah, like you just hit the nail on the head. The amount of times you look at, my favorite one is to do, you click it's hosted on YouTube, you see when it's uploading, it's like, this video was uploaded in 2014. You're like, you may be due for a replacement, you got a decade out of it, maybe it's time to give it
like
a bit
44 views or something.
Yeah, give it a bit of a zhuzh up. So yeah, getting with the times. But again, if you do it right, the right videos should last a long time. If, again, I'm not talking about socials here, I'm talking about sort of more business videos, if you like. They should last a long time if you do right, unless you change something drastically. If it's filmed well, if it sounds good, it looks good. Obviously styles change, but it should perform well.
Yeah, and with that as well, like, would you suggest, say, hosting it on Vimeo or a different platform instead of YouTube? Yeah,
don't use your YouTube as like a video dumping ground. This is like, don't do what I say, not what I do, because mine has become a video dumping ground. I am currently in the process of changing it and actually trying to start my own YouTube channel, which is what the world needs, another person posting to YouTube. So that's on my list. But yeah, definitely use Vimeo, because a couple of boring reasons, but the thing that I really like about it, clean viewer, but at the end of it doesn't recommend other videos, which YouTube does. So you don't want to be on your website, you get to the end and YouTube brings up that you might also want to watch. You don't want that, sending people out to somewhere else, you know. So it's just, Vimeo is the answer. And then you can obviously post it to YouTube and like SEO optimize it on there and get all your stuff you need to, which again, we also do for clients. Yeah. But I wouldn't be hosting to website from there.
Yeah, because I think that YouTube thing popping up at the end of recommend viewers is a big thing. Yeah, we had a client once complain to us about some like on their website at the end of the YouTube, the related videos were a bit dodgy, and we were like, it's related to your YouTube history. So we were like, that one went down well. But yeah, it just says it, doesn't it? I think like, and with Vimeo Pro as well, it's like £6 a month or something. You can put all the stuff up. You can then do different type of controls. Like you can have different presets. So you can have the title on there if you want it, or you can just have the play button and that's it.
So you can have a really nice clean feel.
And you can change the color and branding and stuff like that as well. Yeah, Vimeo 100%. Plus is good for that kind of.
I'd recommend it. That's what we tell all our clients to get on, essentially. And then, just use it. Use YouTube as a lead gen, essentially. Put a good title on it, good copy with it, get your right keywords in there, and use it that way as opposed to...
For what it's used for, like a big search engine and
well, even like a painter and decorator in Manchester who's done quite well with his, and he doesn't do any social stuff. He's like 60 years old and like, no, don't do any of that social media nonsense. And he's had people message him up where they've like either seen his van and then Googled him and the videos popped up on YouTube and bits like that, or they found him through like searching for decorators in Manchester and it's popped up. So having the right things in place on YouTube are massively effective, even if it is a business or brand video. Obviously, someone's not going to be watching it for entertainment, but if someone's Googling trying to find your service in their area and you've got that set up, it's going to pop up.
Yeah, cool, perfect.
So in your experience, how do you think, I'm thinking about phrases, sorry.
It's my struggle every week.
I've been thinking that the whole time, don't worry about it.
So using camera footage across LinkedIn, Instagram, other socials compared to phone content, what I found is that our camera footage that looks a bit more like clean does a lot better on LinkedIn but doesn't perform as well on Instagram. But how would you kind of get around that, or in your experience, is that the case?
I mean, so LinkedIn at the moment seems to be pushing, especially with its, whatever they've called it, the always on video feature from mobile. Seems to be pushing higher quality business centric content, which I mean you kind of expect from LinkedIn, but then as you said, it doesn't necessarily perform well on Instagram. So it boils down to pick your main channel. And that's what we say to clients when clients are like, we want to be on LinkedIn, we want to be on TikTok, we want to be on Reels. I'm like, look, pick the one you really want to nail it on, and then we can repurpose for the other channels. And you just got to take that in, unless you want to be filming stuff and doing it differently for every single one. Then you just got to pick the one that's most important to you, optimize around that, and then I would repurpose for the others. Otherwise, you're filming 3 different versions and or the other boring way to do it, not boring way, I shouldn't say that. I mean, you can film both at the same time as well. Obviously, if it's different kind of content, you can get like little arms to clip onto camera so you can have your mobile and camera going at the same time. So that could be something to do. And then you can actually record both.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that might help, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I never really thought about that. Yeah, like where a lot of the stuff that will get suggested to me on LinkedIn, it tends to be like someone sat at their desk or sat in an office kind of thing where it's like still camera and it's just them talking a little bit with some copy over it. I never really thought about that.
It's
but
changing though. It's changing. Like it's a few years behind every other social platform, but it is getting a bit more fun and contemporary, and people are making stuff and doing things that aren't just that. And I think the people who get on that sooner are going to really reap the rewards of it, versus sort of trying to do all this like the classic talking head style, which I think has been a little bit done now on LinkedIn. Still got its place, and it's good for volume content. You can sit down, do talking heads and blast a load out. If you're going to have to do scripts and all this sort of stuff, it's going to take a lot longer. Yeah. Weight up. Good to have a good balance of both.
And do you suggest with those just the classic kind of talk head one, do you suggest like changing the background every so often, like for the videos to mix up?
Yeah,
so I remember one of the things that you noted on, I think it might have been on your website, I can't remember where I read it, but it was about how like you will get people to outfit change as well during the shooting day as well.
Outfit change, location changes, yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Beyonce
angle, yeah, exactly right. Nice. Delivery changes as well, so delivering to camera, delivering off camera, just mixing it up. Yeah. And then just tweak and change. Did that work? Did that not work? What performed best? Yeah. And take that into your socials and just play it from there, really. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the argument against that is a level of consistency if you made them all look the exact same, but I think I prefer personally, the mix it up approach.
Yeah, because I'll find myself sometimes scrolling through the feed, and if it's the same view with the same person in the same outfit, I think like Chris Walker as well, especially, sometimes I'll just scroll past, like it's just, I like, kind of feel like I've seen the video again, unless the title is kind of quite enticing and pulls you in. It tends to kind of get a bit familiar.
Visual burnout to it, right? You sort of falls into the nonsense.
Yeah, I'll get some wigs made up and mix it up properly. Really stand out.
Have a big Elvis quiff next week.
Don't tempt me, mate. Any other questions? Go on, Matt.
So 2 questions.
You've got a notebook out.
Feel free to pick which one I'll spend more time on. Businessy one. How do you stay organised? Because obviously you have multiple clients, multiple briefs and campaigns to run. Like, do you do a bit of work here and then that one, and try and do another one, another one? I'm all for this, that's why I'm asking.
Sound.
And the fun one, who is your dream client? YouTuber, business, Lego, football, whatever it could be.
Oh yeah, all right. So I'll start off with the fun one, a relatively quick-ish answer for that. I'd love to do some more documentary sports-led stuff, or sports event stuff. So a couple of months back, it wasn't one of our shoots. I was videographer on the shoot, and we clear with that, it weren't our client. But it was a shoot with Mike Bisping, which is really cool. Any UFC fans might know him. That was a really great day, basically ringside of a Mike Bisping sparring session, which was just like, this is it. I've made it. This is great fun. But doing more bits in that kind of space would be awesome. I'd love to get some more stuff like that. I've kind of deliberately pitched myself at businesses that are more, what I say is everyone wants to be doing the cool sports video, the cool gym video, or being in the nice coffee shop and doing that stuff. So when I started, I deliberately went for businesses that were more like industrial, manufacturing. So I have not much of a portfolio, you could say it's in that side of thing. But that, if I could magically, that would probably be the one. Or a job at Man United, that'd be quite cool, actually. And then the other side of it is usually how I stay organised is I get a WhatsApp message from a client being like, where are the videos? And I go, oh, priority list. And no,
chase the most then?
Yeah, no.
That's where I'm going wrong. I'm going to badger you tomorrow.
Again, I've just realised with myself that I need a deadline. The worst thing when a client says to me is, oh, yeah, it's fine, it's in the next, my brain goes, well, you're getting that around Christmas. So I need a deadline, I need to put it in. Bit of accountability on that, but a lot of mine is done through Notion, to be honest, or I'll just Google, if I've got a lot on, I'll just Google Calendar it and then set reminders through it and be like, if it's in 2 weeks, just set one in 1 week's time and planning on a Friday, start doing that again, that helps out a lot. Looking at the workload, breaking it up over the week or 2 weeks, whatever that time is. And what was the other part of that? Oh, yeah, and I'll do bits, so I'll get into the flow of like a few hours with one and then mix it up and go to another. I'll try and do it that way. I just find it keeps it a bit fresher and I don't get so burnt out and get a bit bored of doing a video. So I'll set a timer up, be like, right, this is my 30 minutes, take a break, 30 minutes, take a break, and then I'll go on to different projects and try and do something a bit different. I find it works for me. Well, that's been a very slow process working out what works for me over the last few years. I used to sit there and like see that you got this big long video to make, and I used to see it in my, we actually spoke about this recently with Callum, I think, like breaking it down into those actual tasks of a video rather than, so everyone else can probably like tune out for this bit. But yeah, the actual individual tasks of it, break it down into that. Don't just think I've got to go through 45 minutes worth of footage and I've got to make the end of it, and then I'll go through the B-roll, then I've got to get the music, then like break those down so you feel like you're getting somewhere. Because I used to hate it, sit down and just be like, I've got this massive mountain to climb on this video, but actually breaking it into the steps, I found helps out a lot. So,
nice.
Yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah?
Just
sorry. Go on. No, go on, Jim.
What are your thoughts on In Studio, I think I got that right, which is the website stroke app that basically takes advantage of iStock video footage and photography.
I don't think I've come across it.
Script.
I don't think I've come across it.
So I think I think Opus have got the, not AI B-roll, but it will look at your video, and if you're talking about a bank, it will then put in some B-roll. I suppose it might be similar to that in terms of like it looks through a stock.
Yeah, they're like developing that. I think Adobe bring out Firefly as well, aren't they? Is that similar to that? Is it where it's like they listen to a?
But yeah, I suppose yeah. What are your thoughts on not AI generated B-roll, but like stock footage B-roll?
Yeah, I think they're really useful, but I can just see there being like a really quick burnout time on them. Like trends and things are just burning through so quick now that all of a sudden when you go from talking head to having the talking head with basic B-roll on it and everyone's doing that through the AI, it's just going to be like the next thing will be coming along. So it's definitely useful, I would say. I'm going to play around with it because I think you're right, Opus has, I'm not sure if they've launched it or they're launching it where they're doing similar, and see how it goes. But it's going to be interesting to see how that interacts with people who've produced stock footage as well and how that works in residuals for them. I've never done any stock footage stuff or stock photo stuff.
Okay,
because
that was going to be my
if it's linking into the libraries, it could be interesting to see if people start producing stuff just for stock and AI.
But it's like imagery, isn't it? Like you have like Unsplash and you have like Pixabay stuff and things like that, and it's just, you go on some, let's say it's like one sector or something, like it's a fintech, like most people just go to Unsplash and go fintech, and then they just take that first image and you see the same image across loads of them. And I feel like it will be similar to this with the B-roll as well, where it's like, people are just going to put in whatever's highest up in that search engine of the stock image. But are there any paid or, because there are some good stock image libraries out there if you pay, or even really a random one we came across the other week, we were working with, I can't remember what it was, but it was like something to do with care, and then they was already signed up to the stock image library that was focused just on people with disabilities, because it's like, most of the stock image libraries is just like a guy sat in a wheelchair, like, something like that, whereas like they'll be like, oh, that's the wrong wheelchair, you shouldn't use that for that, that's for this kind of thing. So I think, like, are there any good specific stock image libraries you know of, or how can you get B-roll without shooting it?
I mean, the boring answer is probably the more money you're paying, the more niched and the better the B-roll footage is going to be. If you're paying a £10 a month, £8 a month subscription to one of the massive websites, that's what everyone's paying a subscription to. Yeah. I haven't heard of anyone doing something as niched as that. That sounds
honestly, when I came across it, I was like, wow, okay.
I mean, and I suppose, I guess, with care as well, you're in sort of quite a private industry where people might not want to be filmed, so that could work really well. I mean, for music, you've got like Music Bed, which is one of the more expensive ones out there. It's more expensive because it's really good quality, so you can get more original, better tracks. In terms of footage, I can't remember them. There's like one that's really expensive. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm not subscribed to that one. And then there's things
so you
like,
just tend to shoot it yourself then?
I try. So I'll very much try and fill in gaps with stock footage if you have to. Often it can be like drone footage of areas maybe not being able to go to.
Okay,
like Manchester drone footage or London drone footage if you've done a shoot somewhere and you've not been able to, or it's been England, typical rubbish day. Like the rain's out, I don't fancy sticking a grey drizzly drone shot at the start of my video.
Like, we can't lie to people, you've got to let them know what it's really like here. So.
Come live in Manchester, grey drizzly drone shot. So it can be great for bits like that. all companies that are very office based. Like we're working with a couple of companies at the moment in like the logistics space,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is just a computer.
Yeah.
They get a phone call, they shift stuff. So it's like you've got to try and bring that alive somehow, but clients don't necessarily want you rummaging around their offices, or they've not got the budget to be like, yeah, just do an
Might
extra
not be
day or
tidy and
two.
clean as well, I suppose. It might not be that presentable,
Yeah.
I suppose, as well.
So definitely got uses in that. It's bailed me out more than once,
Yeah.
but I'll try and not use it if possible, is the answer really.
Yeah, fair. Cool.
Yeah, just a quick one about the content type. So you briefly mentioned starting with problem-focused content instead of like awareness type of thing. So would it be okay doing things like demos, tutorials, or even just like I do audits for my clients?
Mm-hmm.
So I just go on their website, newsletter and stuff, and just check what's going on. Hey, I think this could be done better. I've seen this, blah, blah, blah. And I send them a Loom video. So would that be okay as a start?
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel more comfortable, just doing these kind of things compared to like full on.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, the old cliche is true, right? Done's better than perfect. And what you'll probably find is once you start doing it, you'll start getting positive comments on it, you'll start seeing the results from it, then you'll feel more confident to go do the more polished. That's usually how it happens. So yeah, start where you can. Don't overthink it. You know your own business better than anyone. If you think there's a bit of an annoying process or a system or something that you can drop something in and get a bit of a nice contact point in there, do it. Clever IT that you were talking about, the brand we did for them, before he signed me up, we had the initial meeting and we sat down chatting and stuff, and I was like, oh, you should be using Loom in here and you could be doing this, And then like 3 weeks later, I got a call back from him being like, mate, that's a great idea. We've been using it and like doing this, and I've got the engineers on board and even they're doing it. It's been great. They're still using it now, and they're using it for things like talking through contracts, introducing the team members. So if you're a new client coming on, so Ben, the guy who runs it, is still very customer facing in the sales thing, so he'll go and have the sales process, but then they get passed on to like an engineer to come sort everything out. So they'll do the intro with that. They'll be like, hey Steve, thanks for meeting the other day, cheers for signing up. Just want to let you know I'm CCing you into Ash, who's our engineer, is going to be come doing the install. They'll do it that way. So rather than someone just rocking up on the day and it's a bit awkward, it's like they've had a nice, really nice intro. So these are little steps you can be building in that just give that more, I hate this sort of use of phrase, that human experience. But it does, and when you're in sectors like IT, that's rare. It might be more common in digital marketing and people who are at the front of these sort of changes. But when you're not in those, no one's doing it.
Yeah.
So it just, again, helps you stand out. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question. But I would just start with what I had.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Cool. Nice. Any more questions? All good. Nice. Well, yeah, Ash will be hanging around a bit after anyway, so you can grill him even further. Your time isn't finished yet, so. But yeah, thanks so much for Ash. So yeah, big round of applause. Appreciate you doing this. Perfect timing.